Oh, we're live. Hello and welcome to Drawing Blood. It's our live stream where we dive into our game #Blood, which is a hand-drawn adventure that's a love letter to Zelda, Cartoon Network, everything that sort of made us tick when we were get of a certain age. I'm your host, Chris Burns, and with me to my right is Bob Fox. We're the artists who are responsible for all the game's content. So we're going to get started here. We'll wait for a few more people. Twist the little mic. All right. Let me know if that's... And anyone in the comment section, let us know if the audio's a little wonky. This is our second stream back, so... let's see. So where we left off last week, we were working on this mall cop. Oh, Cody's on there. Yes, sorry. I should also note that we are programmers. Will be joining us too in the comment sections on YouTube or Twitch. So if you have any programming questions that I'm certainly not qualified to answer, hit them up. We also will be joined with our writer, Greg. So look for Greg Lane, that's Tin Heart Interactive, Cody Greenhouse, you see on YouTube. There's Andrew Tavis, and I'm not sure what his screen name is, but he's one of the programmers too. All right. So, yes, the whole team's here, all 5 of us. Last week, we started with this character, or we were kind of working on the bugs of this character. He wasn't fully fleshed out yet, but I went ahead this week and did that. So I'm just going to watch this through and you guys can see this. We also tweeted this out, but any redundancies is okay in this case. So this mall cop is sort of a bit of a mini boss in our character. He's not someone you exactly fight, but there is a section in our game where you're going to have to sort of sneak around, and he's sort of the villain in this case. He's just doing his job, really, but Becky has to avoid him at all costs. So I got the profile, and this can also work as a 3/4 directional. Got all the animation for that. The top here is the sprites broken down, and the bottom one, where's the animation example, is all them linked together. I can show you the flash file for that. We also got the going down directionally. Again, the sprites are to the left. Now the sprites are going to be on the right when he's heading up on the screen. So we kind of did all the cardinal directions for this guy, so Becky can sneak around him. And this one was in the first one, but this is also something that happens when you get caught. So I'll show you the animation here. Alright, so what I did when I do all these, I make them symbols in Flash, and then I register them so we can swap them out here, and this is sort of how they grab it from the sprite sheet too. So we got the idle here. This is him not panning, obviously. The stop. Settle to the idle. Antic, and on the move again. I still have to do the ones where it turns around directionally, but this is more than enough for the programmers to start getting the prototype for this level ready. But none of that really matters today because we're going to be working on what happens when you get caught, when and if you get caught in the game. Now, to break free from some of the tropes of top-down adventures that you see in games, we have the luxury of sort of animating cutaway scenes, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be putting together that in an animatic version, which kind of breaks free from the top-down thing, and it gives it a little bit more flair when it in terms of making this game really feel and look like a cartoon, because that's really the goal here. We want you to be immersed in this cartoon landscape. And anytime we have the option to make it look like a cartoon you might see on television or one of those networks, we're going to take that option. So, I'm going to fast forward to the end here. You're sneaking around, you end up in his sights, he starts screaming at you. Becky all of a sudden is shocked, you're incapacitated, you can't move her anymore. So this is where we are going to do a cutaway. So, I'm going to start by showing you how I set up that file. Alright, so cutaways we do widescreen, just to kind of indicate that this is something that's not playable. I bring references in. This is the work area. It's still the same work area. It's 960 by 540, and then we blow everything up. But I put the bars in there so we know that where the action will take place, and those black bars on top or bottom will show where all the action is, and it'll make it feel widescreen. So when I start these, I know how to draw Becky. I've been drawing her plenty lately. So I just grabbed some references of what's going to happen. So I got him, which is just the sprite that I used. And this gem right here is actually something Bob put together. Let me see if I can... I made this a JPEG. This is all done in Flash MX though, which is kind of hard to believe.
Why do we use that?
Flash MX?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I could turn your attention to our other series where we kind of lamb-based Adobe Animate. We use Flash MX for selfish reasons. We just know how to draw better in it. It's something we came in the industry kind of learning and stuff, and after 22 years we just got so familiar with it that we never really took the time to jump on the Adobe Animate train. I don't have much experience in Toon Boom or any of the other kind of programs that are adjacent to this, but we have used that Adobe Animate for projects that aren't really passion projects, more of our stuff that we had to work with other people and stuff. But this one being just Bob and myself, we're very comfortable with MX. It draws really well, and anyone who's kind of familiar with the series is we don't really use all the kind of things you would in Adobe Animate. We kind of use this as a camera, a drawing apparatus, and then you can do some symbol stuff, but it's really kind of basic functionality in terms of it, and we're trying to go very hand-drawn heavy here, so we're just using it to our best here to do the hand-drawn stuff. Now this is a JPEG, but I do have a file of this in Flash MX, this background that Bob put together in Flash MX. This is a JPEG right now, so this is in vector, but you can see here all the detail he's putting with these textures that he's actually hand manipulating with vectors itself. So if you zoom into the actual file, you will see these textures that are made out of vector, and he does such a nice job of making it look painterly and sort of that late Cartoon Network, late 2000s Cartoon Network vibe, which had a lot of paint textures, kind of simpler shapes and stuff. But I'm going to need this because we're going to take some of this Animatic to the outside, so I need like a reference of what the mall looks like. Thanks for the intro. You're welcome. I learned last week that Flash MX was 2002, not 2004. Yes, 2004 Flash was a really bad one, and I recall there were times when productions were put on hold because it was so buggy, and I think whoever made it had to issue a statement because so many productions were halted. So, you know, every company has its problems, and Macromedia wasn't, had theirs too. All right, so here's the file. I set it up with the black bars on top for the widescreen. Of course, you want to do that on screen? Okay, sorry about that. This one. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Still working out some of the kinks. All right. Let us know if that's a little better. So I break down the file, and I'm never sure how long these animatics are going to go. This isn't like a very poignant sort of animation that's going to take place that's not very story driven. This one is you get caught, and we're kind of resetting the level here, so you need a reason to get back outside of the place that you're sneaking around in. So I don't want it too long, I also don't want it too short, and I do want to make it sort of comical. I break it down here on top, layer 1. You'll see every one of these keyframes indicates a second, so I'm going to try to do this in under 15 seconds, which sounds short, but if you're in a gameplay and you're getting frustrated, watching 15 seconds of something can be quite arduous, but we will have skip stuff in that too if you're getting too frustrated. When I start these, I do something really simple here, and I don't even time these out. This is what I call the thumbnail stage, and it's really just sort of based for me what I'm doing, but I'll kind of explain my process here a little bit. So this hash mark right here, that's the center of the screen, and I just sort of really basically rough out some shapes of what I want to happen. Now remember, she just got caught. she's looking there nervous. We're going to cut to this. So I started here with kind of a back shot of Becky. Next keyframe, I have and you can see how rough these are. The mall cop kind of zoom in, you know, comically like that. Got the settle, so it really comes in quick. That's scene 1. I then gonna change the shot to scene 2, where we're gonna have a shot of Becky kind of looking up. This towering kind of guy is over her, so he comes in, kind of looks angry. And you can see here, I'm just roughing in right over it. And she kind of does that thing where she's like, haha, caught me. You know, she's going to try to get her way out of it. We're going to cut to outside. We're going to see the profile of the door. And you're just going to see Becky fly out. Like that, you're going to see his hands. Then we're going to cut to the front shot. And this is where I kind of stopped. The blue horizon line is where the mall security guard is. This red little dot here indicates Becky, and she's flying towards the camera. So I'm just going to keep doing that a little bit. Just not really for timing, just for shot and composition's sake. So she got thrown here, right? We're going to cut here, kind of a mid-shot. She's eventually going to land in the foreground. So we're going to kind of rough out some timing here. Again, really basic shapes. This is not for anyone's eyes but mine, really. Falls down. Lands at the foreground. These are her legs sticking up. Her cape falling down. So we got... This one could actually go up. And this is the time where I kind of get all my thought process out. There, we'll add a camera shake. At the end, she'll kind of pop up, looking all disheveled. Also blocking out the mall cop. You can have stars over her head. So she lands, pops up. Then we'll cut back to a close-up of the mall security guard. We'll frame him out. This will be the front of the mall, the door. I'll also want to center this perfectly. Kind of like the Wes Anderson shot where I will like everything symmetrical. Have the guard there, kind of looking tough. Maybe his arms crossed. That. Super rough again. This is a pretty large door, so I'm gonna make this bigger. And a good ending, I think, will be like the mall doors kind of close. They're those automatic doors, so it'll just end up closing on that. And that also, like, when you do those kind of things where the door closes, it also kind of signifies the end of the short, too. It feels like actual closure. So from there, I just kind of look over things. I'll always add stuff to this, too. Timing's not finished until animation, but I'll try to get a rough sense of it here. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with the beats here, and now I'm going to go ahead and try to time this out and try to get it in the 15-second mark. Each one of these keyframes can be super quick or super long, so there's no real science to this. So I kind of just feel it out from here and just grab these really quick drawings and kind of time it out here. Why don't you guys use Flash 8? Just asking. Which one is Flash 8? Is that the one after MX? Or before MX?
I don't remember.
Curb Stomp. Is that the one after MX or before? The only reason we really use MX, though, is I started my career in the industry around 2002 and 1. This is before Wacom's. Well, they had Wacom's you drew on the side and stuff. But it was before we were really working on any drawn on screens and stuff. And MX was just sort of the new thing. And I started my industry career in New York. And it was all the rage in New York City. So I kind of just learned on the job there, and I just haven't stopped. Kind of liked it so much. Yeah, to remember when I was working, I graduated in 2002 or 3. Cody knows this. Yeah, I graduated with Cody. But my thesis was drawn on paper, scanned in, colored in Photoshop. Then we imported it into After Effects. We had to time out everything. Then we had to export it and get it on beta. These huge kind of VHS looking beta things. And it was this huge process. And it took all year to do something that was 3 minutes long. And then Flash MX came onto the scene, and I wasn't aware of it until then. And you can start doing all this stuff within the program. And for someone who just spent, a year doing my thesis, knowing I could have done everything in one program really interested me. So that's where I kind of got my interest in MX. All right, so we have Becky here. I usually do it about a second. Your eyes have to register this. So he's going to show up. Just going to grab these frames here, drag and drop. Show up, he settles, and we can kind of settle that the way we see fit. I'm thinking when he settles, he's going to zoom in and do that kind of thing when, if you see a bow and arrow in a cartoon hit a wall, and the arrow kind of settles and goes back and forth. We'll do that kind of shake there. Let that kind of register for a second. Break that down into half. And just move these here. Now this is going to start with just Becky. I don't want him leaning into the shot in here. And I'll start indicating in the shot before that he is about to lean down. Then he'll show up, so like that. This is kind of a comic timing thing, so she's kind of staring at him, she's frightened, and then she'll kind of do her thing where she shrugs her shoulders trying to get out of this. Can even change the timing to be a little longer, like that. Let that marinate for a second. Then we're gonna see this shot. Gonna cut. There's anyone old enough who remembers the first Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Remember those files when they threw out? Was it DJ? What was his name? Jazzy Jeff.
Oh yeah, that's from.
There was always, I always think of this because we wanted to do this thing for a while.
Too, isn't it?
There's this part there. It was like that kind of 90s sitcom trope where, Uncle Phil from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was getting annoyed with his friend, Will's friend, and he just throws him out the door. But you never see Uncle Phil actually doing it. You just see you're on the porch and you just see this guy go flying out. So that's sort of what we're gonna do here. Cut here. All of a sudden she gets thrown out. Now this we will kind of want a quick cut because she's gonna exit the screen real quick. We could leave his arms there. Then we're gonna cut to this. This is another sort of cut we do where you're kind of in mid-action, and anyone kind of interested in or a student of film will notice, I always liked how Scorsese he always cuts kind of mid-action, and it really made the story flow. His editors were really good about even taking frames out of other, when someone punches someone in a Scorsese film, they'll film the punch and then take out the frames to make it feel more impactful. They'll do the same thing kind of with edits on that. So, that. His arms can go back in. Like that. So she can have some hang time here. Kind of the more cartoony, the better. You want these moments of levity, even in a game that's sort of, masks a little bit of the horror genre. So that could actually be quicker. And then we can time out here. We can pop up. Cut here, and all this timing, you see how quick I'm doing it, can also change at any moment. And that's under 12 seconds. And if we could do that, I'd be pretty happy. So right now I'm just going to keep this. I'm going to trim off the fat here. Okay, so I got this rough timing. The cutaways in these kind of situations are a little tricky because you're in this big area, this sort of dungeon-ish kind of mall right now. And we don't want to have too much reference of where you get caught, because you could get caught in the beginning or the end, and both have very different looks. So we have to be a little creative about what we do with the backgrounds here. That's why I chose the upshot here. So we would see most of the background here would be like the rafters and stuff, something you wouldn't see in normal gameplay. Because if we do it in front of one of the stores and you get caught elsewhere, it's going to feel like it's not going to feel right with the cutaway, and we want these cutaways to be as graceful as we can. So I will start by kind of roughing out the background in the same kind of thing. I'll pick a different color, like a dark gray. And with this kind of simple cartoon, you want to frame out the action. So I'll get like, where's all the action taking place? So we'll sort of aim the perspective so your eye kind of stays where kind of the background tells you to look. So you see that? We're going right down to the middle. This side, this could be all shadow. This could be all shadow. That focuses her eye on what we're looking at, which essentially is what Becky's looking at. So we'll just keep that there. We could change this on too. So raise that. So I'm gonna rough out the backgrounds now. Again, we kind of want to keep this very vague and stuff, so we're just gonna kind of shift the horizon up a little bit higher here. A normal horizon would be low like this for this kind of shot. We're gonna do that, and we're gonna again try to keep it vague and shadowy and stuff, kind of frame out the action here. So anything behind here hopefully is not, hopefully when you get caught, you're not somewhere too close to anything. So this will just kind of indicate, yeah, you're still in the mall. Do the perspective here. Oh, I messed that up. Okay, there we go. Like that. This one we kind of have the background in there, but we can add some like trees in the distance, the parking lot. Can try and frame the action as best we can. So I'll probably lower that a little bit. Always want the action. The action you want as much kind of canvas space as you can get, so I'll probably not even put these trees behind here so you can see his hand. Here we're gonna see the mall, so I'm gonna grab the reference here. I'm gonna keep that here for reference. I'm gonna just shut those off for a second. So see, the door is shaped a little different. And for something like this, I'll just do something completely symmetrical. Like that. And something like that. So got the steps here. And then the rest is sort of that. So I'll just copy that. Flip horizontal. Get that in there, because Bob's going to go when we're on cinematic duty. He's going to have to fix all these wonky backgrounds I do. Works. This one we don't really need much. It's all background kind of included. Alright, from there, and you see how quick I kind of did those thumbnails. I don't want to spend a lot of time. This is really just for me. I like to show the guys kind of the finished product, and then we can have our talks and make adjustments and stuff. So this one's just trying to get my head right. Alright, any questions? Do you post on Newgrounds? We have in the past with other projects, but not recently. What else do we got? Are you guys somehow connected to Ogdenwood Studios? I was one of the lead animators there from 2007 to 2012, and in 2013 Bob and myself started another studio, micro studio as we call it, which is just us two, and moved out east on Long Island, where Augenblick is based in Brooklyn. And I have nothing but high regards for that studio. That studio taught me a lot about animation. We always called it Animation Boot Camp because there was a lot to learn there. All right. Okay, so now I'm just gonna clean this up. Other animatics, I do use the character. It's not just black and white. I'll make the backgrounds black and white, but I'll use the character's actual colors. It just makes it pop a little bit better when you see it inside the game, even though this is a rough version of it. So I'm going to start cleaning up Becky. Line weight doesn't matter in these cases, so I kind of just feel comfortable at 200 usually. And model doesn't really matter in this case either. Again, this is just sort of for us to kind of get our heads around. Got an ear there. She has her cape from behind, so I got like that. But yeah, I worked for Augenblick for close to 7 or 8 years, and we worked on some really cool projects. People seem to know Super Jail the most. We were season 1 Super Jail. We worked on Ugly Americans, which is a Comedy Central show. That's actually where I started storyboarding. And we had pretty strict deadlines for all that stuff, so we had to board about 3 minutes of this kind of stuff a week. And when we sent the boards over, because they were getting animated in Canada actually, we had to be strict on model. Everything was really kind of regimented, so it was trying to pretty much get layout done, 3 minutes of layout done a week, which is incredibly hard. Will you animate some frames on this Animatic on stream? I would love to see that. Yeah, I'm gonna clean up some stuff, and I can go into some animation stuff that I will do for sure. Alright, so Becky's here. I just need a color palette for her, so I'm gonna open up one of her files. Actually, she should probably in the mall comp thing right here. I'm gonna grab that frame. You see the difference in size. This is at 400%. This is at 100 to the left. That's why this drawing doesn't look very good. And I actually see a mistake there. Never colored in her hands. So you can see sort of how quick we do have to work. Get that done. And I picked kind of these simple colors for her that no other character will have, so she always stands out on the screen. I'll then make her, I do Control G, that's a group, that's not a symbol, meaning I can't alternate it and stuff, but if I go over a group, I can't erase it. I can still manipulate it and puppet it to where I need to. If she's like going down or I need a quick antic, I can kind of mess with this and get it to move a little bit. It's something I don't do when we get to animation though. I'm going to block out the background. Just some very basic shapes. And that might be a little too dark. Here we go. Group that. So this one could be. Try to keep everything as symmetrical as I can, so I use a lot of like this field guide as a metric. And like that. Put that there. Okay, so we're gonna keep her on one layer. She'll be in the foreground. Now let's get the cop here, or the wall cop. And Becky I know up and down, so I don't need a reference, but this guy I kind of like having to my right here, so I can see like the kind of the head shape and stuff. And I'm not really a big fan of model sheets, so I could make his head bigger, I could make his body bigger, and these are a real breakaway from the actual gameplay, so I like having fun with the shapes. And I always found it kind of fun to play with the model when I need to. So I'm gonna rough this one out even more. I always start with this guy's nose here. You kind of see how it's a square. And even though he's facing straight forward, I always kind of indicate a nostril. He has sort of a unibrow, so I kind of get the imagery there. He's looking down at her. Kind of a square head like that. Mustache kind of covers his mouth, so we have to get creative with mouth shapes that way. And you remember his last thing, he was just so furious, so he still has to be angry here, even though he's a little calmer. He's not going berserk. I've been following on Twitter for a while. We'll buy the game. Oh, thank you. Yes, we hope you guys enjoy the game. We've been working hard on it for quite some time. So it's a lot of drawings, good amount of gameplay so far, and we just keep adding more and more content to make this as robust as we can. Gonna straighten out his arms here. Want his arms kind of down, like he's super angry. Color, and then I'll copy that. This is something I usually won't do when it comes to animation, but I like copying and pasting stuff here, especially just to get the idea down. It's kind of high-waisted. Now, I'm going to show you a trick in Adobe that, not Adobe, in MX that I like to use. I kind of drew this guy straight, and if I want to play with the angle, like where he's kind of looking up, what you can do, you have to make sure it's the raw art, of course. Now, if you hit Control... do this so you can see the whole thing. If you hit Control, you'll see my mouse change from this arrow to this white tool, and then you can grab it and kind of change the perspective of it if you need to. So if you want kind of a more daunting look, just for perspective wise, you can do that. Kind of gives it a more like you're looking up at him, but then you do have to make adjustments. Like that. And with these flat styles, you can really get away with like murder here. So I kind of like the way that looks. It feels like a powerful shot. I might make the head a little bigger though. Like he's kind of starting up and looking. So it'll like start up here and come down like that. Alright. So now I'm going to work on cleaning that up. Now, you see how I kind of made just one frame, one layer for Becky? I might separate a few things with this guy. I could separate the skull shape. I could separate the head, which I'm definitely going to do, and the torso. And that gives us a little more play room when we kind of manipulate those one drawings around back and forth, and I'll show you what I mean to get like that kind of stutter. That stuttering he comes in. Alright, so what I'll do here, again, line weight doesn't matter, so I'll use a thicker brush. I wish I still had Windows 7. I still have Windows 7 on my home computer, and the only disadvantage of that now is when I go on to my Steam page, they're giving me a countdown. I have 180 days left before they tell me I can't use it anymore. But yeah, I do. I like the older stuff when it was more just kind of simple format and stuff. We're kind of reductionists at the studio. We don't use the programs to our, like, its full capacity. We're just kind of treating everything on a very base level here. But yeah, I always liked Windows 7. Alright. So I got that. We can color that. Gray here. This isn't necessary to do for animatics, like coloring. It's a little overboard, if you ask me, especially when you're trying to get stuff done. But the way our production works is we're sort of kind of doing full-blown animation where it's just not sprite work last, so we want this as clean as we can for the next version of our game. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing here that I did in the rough, which is 200. Just do the first half, duplicate and put it on. Use that as kind of the center point. Transform, flip horizontal. Line the straight line up as best I can. Close the gap there and color this. Alright, so this is where you could get away with a little bit of speed. So I grouped that. Keep it in all on the same layer still. So I had them coming in here, kind of overshoots and settles. So you see here, I'm just manipulating these and kind of playing with the frame a little bit. And you could do the opposite too, where he's kind of zooming in. If you really want to get crazy, then you can change the expression and stuff like this, but he comes here, and I will just sort of indicate a settle here, or a stagger settle, so when I come back to this in a couple months, I'll know what I was doing. Like that, and nothing too scientific here, just want to make sure he gets that, so we got that in settle, so. Zip. Alright. Now remember I said I wanted to kind of indicate from the other one that he's going to come down into the next frame. So I'll just do another keyframe here, kind of right before the cut. Just blow this up a little bit. Lower the head, and that way it looks like he's sort of anticing down here, and then we'll get the cut. Right, the Scorsese thing I kind of mentioned earlier, where you just indicate from scene to scene. This is also something you can't get really in boards when you're just doing it on paper. Another reason I like these kind of programs. Alright, let me just start with a simple background here. This is a great way if your guys are students or just trying to put a film together. Like, that's why I love these programs even more, is because you can do your whole kind of thought process here without even getting into any paper and stuff. You can really establish timing, and if you don't like it, you can always change the timing. And you see I put this together in under 40 minutes, and we already got, 2.5 seconds of a shot. I'm just going to change the color for the floor so that we know that. I use the grayscale for all that. At the top. It is at night during this section, so. I'll get rid of the shadow lines, but I'm going to keep the line work here for like the horizon. Most of our backgrounds don't really use hard lines. We're trying to keep it very painterly. Animatic wise though, it's good to have these little indicators. I'm going to change that there. And like all these kind of like UPA-ish kind of styles, the perspective really doesn't have to match too hard. So you can have some fun with this and, you know, go like do stuff like that. And Bob will know what to do with that. Alright. So we'll know that's the mall floor. That background done. Alright, now let's clean up Becky. Now, say I'm done with this shot. I like the timing. I'll collect all these frames, right? I'll Control-Alt-C, that copies the frames. I'll open my library and put it scene 1 and put it all so it's all on one layer. I don't do that till the end though, because I'm not sure if I'm going to want to change timing and stuff, and changing timing outside of the on this timeline rather than inside and internally is a lot easier than that. But I like to kind of break those things down into shots, and that helps when Bob goes into the post production stuff too, so we know this is one background, this is the timing. We can get that into After Effects and all that stuff, because this will have a post pass, like where we can blur the lines, we can do focus stuff like out of focus, in focus, add a little bit of action lines, add shadows sometimes, and that helps it to feel like it's another layer to the game, because the game right now is just we export stuff from Flash and put it into, you know, Unity, and that way, so you're getting those colors. And this one we kind of want to up the look of it to feel really like a cartoon. But that's a post pass. Becky, I kind of know what I'm doing now. This one I'll definitely separate some of her features here, because I'm going to do some acting within her face. And just turn that down. I'm going to continue this. I like continuing off the work area, just in case we want to change some of the sizes. I'm not using... I'll clean that up a little bit better. I don't know if I like those bangs that way. Her bangs change a lot, depending on the angle of her head. I'll keep it like that for now. Erase that. Okay, so I'm going to color this, and then I'll isolate the head and the nose. Her nose is a little smaller too. And I've got a button nose here. Alright, grab the colors. Pink for the hair and the torso. Light purple for the rest. Okay, then her skin tone. Whoops, wrong color. Alright, I'm going to group that, Control G. Now, eyes and mouth, I could put that all on one layer. Eyes are one of the more important things on any cartoon. So her eye structure changes a lot depending on her mood. Same with her eyebrows. Like when she's angry, we'll give those really thick kind of angry eyebrows. Like that. When she's kind of goofy, we'll go like that. You know, and that all fits within the frame of her face. She's a little scared, so I'm going to kind of do the lower kind of mouth there. Keep grabbing the wrong color here. Control G. Gonna throw that right on top here, so she's always on one layer. Alright. Gonna have him come in. This where the loose drawing is. It if there's in my computer certainly no. Okay. Just Bob's gonna keep me in touch if there's any questions about what I'm doing or if I'm moving too slow or too fast. I always feel like I'm doing it too slow. Okay. So this guy comes in stage right. This one I'm gonna rough out a little bit. Now with these animatics, it's okay to have like this kind of cruddy line quality. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's all about feelings, these animatics. There's the mustache kind of acting as the mouth here. It's got that double chin. Kind of got that square head in the back, like where his kind of neck fat would be. That kind of made his head kind of square on top. He's bald. And even though this is an out of work area, I'm going to keep drawing beyond, because we never know when we're going to need that extra room. Now, I'll probably separate this too. He'll be 3 layers. His shoulder lays on top. I think his chin should be out a little more. Feels a little better. Grab his color. I am missing every color here. Okay. Always try to keep the eyes white in these. Even though I made his yellow actually as a spray, but that's okay. Oh yeah, the wish list, please. That helps us immensely. You know, the wish list for the game, our game slated to come out next year, and it keeps us going. I'll tell you that much. We kind of pay attention to it every day, and we like to see that list grow. So. If you have a friend who you would think would like this kind of cartoony-ish top-down style, please spread the word. We're mostly a word-of-mouth studio. I'm almost primarily. I don't even know why I said mostly. Alright, so I got his shoulder here. The color of that. Where is this guy? Sweet. Okay, I'm gonna group that. That's just because it's in front of his head. And his torso here. Got that collar. And this part, I'm gonna go all the way over there. This is way off the work area, so I'm not even going to complete that. And color that. Now, I'm not in love with her eyeline, so when he comes down, she's going to have her pupils adjust. I'm not in love with her chin either, to be honest. Okay, so that comes in. I'm going to move her a little bit to the left here. This is where the grouping comes in handy because I can sort of frame out stuff better now. Yeah, I want to extend her chin, that's for sure. Alright, so he's going there. I'm going to play back to just watch. Feels about right. Come in. Always nice to sort of add a settle. Even though we'll actually animate this, but... And then you could even add a frame where he's about to come in. You see, you can start feeling the animation already, even though this is the world's biggest cheat to do that. Alright, I'm gonna, because her chin's gonna bother me, I'm gonna extend that. After all these streams, I go back and watch what I put together. I don't watch the streams because my voice is As you'll probably know, it's as annoying as it gets. But I'll look at the art we did and I'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. So I'm gonna fix it now instead of. I'll be a little proactive. I feel better. Yeah, that'll. Well, it is Friday here. That's why you'll hear the sirens. Though we got a new microphone, and I was told it wasn't that bad this time.
It's a lot worse than this.
It's a lot worse for us, but okay. So I'm gonna grab that, go inside the group, erase, paste, recolor. Okay. So she's looking up. I'll lower her eyes a little bit too, I think. You know what? I'm going to grab her nose and put it inside the eye symbol. Okay. Lower that. Okay, is publishing this game. They're our publisher, yes. And they have been absolutely amazing. They've been so supportive of like our vision and stuff. They've been, you know, super hands-on when we need them, and they've been just very supportive of everything we've done. And this is our first rodeo. You know, we're an animation studio by trade. I don't know much about like the publishing side of things. We have programmers who've worked in the gaming field, but as our first IP that's going out there and it's just us, it's like they've been so helpful with that. We're very happy and grateful that they're on our side. It's, you know, anyone who's made a game or even animation know how hard it is. It's incredibly hard to put yourself out there. Okay, so I'm going to adjust her eyes, the same kind of framing here. So I get in between that. Okay, so I want the eye line to kind of be straight. You always want the pupils lining up, and you see her eyes are sort of pointing this way. This is that way. So we're just going to make some adjustments on the fly. So she comes down. Another siren. We need to get those. Like, I know there's animations that pop up every time a siren comes.
Subscriber.
Instead of a subscriber. I'll lower that. A little bit better. I can lower that even more. Control G, put that on top. And you can even add a settle there if you want, but it's such a minimal move. I'm going to even change these pupils to kind of move accordingly too. A lot of adjustments here. The behind the scenes stuff. You don't see all the mistakes hopefully none of the mistakes show up in the game. Alright, so we have this thing where she's going to shrug her shoulders, which will just be a complete new drawing. Because you want to kind of have a funny face here. He's going to stay stoic, kind of just taking the moment. Move that over there. Alright, I don't need the background for this, and I don't need that on, but I do need that not to be on that onion skin. Okay, so when she kind of has the somber face, and when you smile, you want your cheeks to go up, so I'm going to rough this out a little bit, make it as funny of a face as I can. Your eyes will kind of go down a little bit. Do you have any tips on how to keep the game file size? Myself, I personally don't. Our programmer Cody has been kind of in charge of optimization and stuff. But I will say our game has a ton of drawings, and so far, knock on wood, it's been optimized pretty well. But yeah, I that's not my kind of wheelhouse. I'm the least technical one on the team too. Everyone else,
Keep adding the most too.
I'm the one who adds the most. I'm the everyone else is the problem solver. I'll create a bunch of problems for them, and then they have to work around me. But I'm the only one who doesn't even have access to the Unity file because they don't trust me then. So, and that's the engine we're using is Unity. Okay, so the shoulders are gonna come up. She's gonna go like, oh, what can you do? Alright. The cape will disappear, and I could probably lower her head and keep the shoulders raised. So she kind of sinks down in shame a little bit here. Like that. Try to make it as funny of a face. You can see how microscopic she looks, but we have a bunch of jokes from NPCs calling out Becky's small stature. Alright. So I'm going to isolate the shoulders here so I can do the settle again. Sometimes when I'm cleaning up, I like to do the rough drawing in a different color, just to get my bearings a little bit. Let's draw. Always start with the eyes. I've done that since I've been starting off in my career. I don't know why. I always found them the kind of the most interesting part of like the cartoon. That bean-shaped mouth that the internet either loves or hates. Alright. Her eyelids. Now I'll blink her eyes in a bunch of different ways. Sometimes I'll do an eye like a UPA style like that. Other times we'll see the lid, but when I do the lid, I kind of give her like that eyeshadow from her hair, the same color, just so it looks a little bit better. Gonna group that, and we're gonna do the torso head. Alright. Okay, so she kind of sinks down here. Color that. Group that. Paste, and then I'll do the arm separate so we can get that settled in. Do the same thing on this side, even though it'll be two different drawings. There we go. Much better. All right. Match cut in her shoulder here. I'm gonna paint behind. I usually keep paint behind on at all times for those reasons. You know, when I'm coloring and we need a match cut, it's easier to kind of keep it on there. Control G. Now, it looks like we might want to raise her the whole time. Okay, so that works. I might just want to raise her up a slight tad, which I'll raise him up as well. So we get a little more of the arm acting in. Gonna hit Control A. I don't want to grab the background though. What's this layer? Is that the reference layer? Okay, so get a little more Becky in there. I'm gonna select the frames. Put that all in. Kind of adjust the framing thusly. Okay. Do that thing. That little settle. Alright. So we're going to want to keep that timing a little bit. Let the player resonate with it a little bit. I'm going to cut it here, though. I'm going to bring that. I usually like cutting on the second mark. It just gets to this natural rhythm. But in this case, I feel like that would be too long of a hold. Alright, so I'm going to start with the background here. There'll be a background and a foreground. Now for the wall, I'm just going to do a solid color. Backgrounds, I like to use line tool a lot just to get those clean, sharp. So that'll be the, like, if you're looking, that's the side of the door. And then we'll do some line tool stuff here in the back. Horizon, I'll add usually like a fence. I don't want that to be in the action, so I'm going to keep that. Keep that onion skin so I can kind of see. We'll put some trees back here. We can keep a street light or something here. And then add some more trees, kind of frame out the action. This is purely for visual sake. We'll have the stars and the moon. Alright, so pick a different shade of gray. That's the ground. Indicate the fence. The trees in the background, I'll probably do the same color as the street. Cut that off. Make the lamppost dark. This is the street lamp on. We can do like that. And make that a little bit lighter. All that. I'll keep the shirt like that. Gonna group that. That's the foreground element. Then we pick the sky color. It's nighttime, so I'm gonna pick a darker color here. Well, thanks for joining. Hello.
Was it Curve said something about CC got rid of?
What did CC get rid of?
Got rid of the ink bottle.
Really?
I didn't remember that.
That's crazy. That thing's so useful.
Ingredients. The one one where
And
you can, like,
gradients.
ink's the one where you can like outline.
Ink's perfect because you could shape tween like a regular shape, and then get a constant line, like a constant line quality around it. Why would they get rid of that? And gradients. I mean, I'm not a giant fan of gradients, but why get rid of them?
I mean, they're useful. I've been using the heck out of them in the backgrounds.
Yeah, no, they are good for like painterly stuff.
And then kind of matching between them too.
That's the new one, or that's new CC?
Might have not see it. I don't remember when. CS3 definitely had that.
I never seen one without. I haven't honestly. I haven't played with
Animate
an Animate in a while, but it's crazy. Been discovering this game for like 2 weeks, and it's thank you. Yeah, you could follow all our stuff and go in our backlog. We've done actually this series, this live series, about 3 years ago when we were working on it, when we were just independently doing it on our own. And you could kind of see the progression. The game graphics have, we added a lot, and I mean a lot, of animation since its inception. Alright. So he tosses Becky.
Gradients are still. As far as they know.
But the ink
I
isn't.
should look that up and just see what I have like a. Gosh, I don't even know. Like 2020, I don't even know what it's up to now.
I just don't know why would you get rid of any of that stuff. Okay, so
They're probably causing it to crash.
I mean, gradients do, they have even crashed MX a lot. When I don't want to draw Becky's full torso, I can add her little cowl here, so that always helps.
Oh, they have the ink. Oh, it's underneath the.
Oh, they have it. It's in a different bottle. I mean, it's a bottle, like it's a real ink bottle. Just in a different. Yeah. Another thing, when we were using it, they would constantly, they would update it, and then all the toolbars would be missing and stuff. Oh, it bothered me. It drove me crazy. One time we were working on a project, and we work on, well, you were working on an Apple at the time, or Mac. But I was working on a PC, and we were sharing files, and all of a sudden I just lost my pressure sensitivity, and then I reached out to them, and they were just like, yeah, we're thinking about working on that or something, like, and it was like a paid job with a deadline that I had to get something in, so I had to work with no pressure sensitivity on something. And drawing's funny because, like, you'll notice those just little, like, synchronistic things like that. So when I'm trying to draw and trying to get like a little bit of just a little bit of line quality, all of a sudden I couldn't. And they, I guess, yeah,
We're working on it.
yeah, we're working on it. No real, like, when it'll be fixed. But it worked the day before. The day before it was working. So. So he tosses her out here. Don't love that hand. You know what? I'm gonna finish this hand and then I can move it. Yeah, we were working on it. Yeah, I was working on, well, it was not only that, but it was, we needed, I'm gonna just use this as the other hand, by the way. That's just to erase the hair in front of it. I was, working with a deadline who people were relying on us. What do I tell them? That the program's not working? We're trying to look like a professional studio. I underline trying. Alright, so this is the foreground. I'm going to keep that there. Where's Becky? Thumbs up. Yeah, grading stuff. Alright, so, oops. Let me grab all this. Get this on its own layer. I'm going to put the foreground there, so I don't have to worry about match cutting. I'm going to put Becky on another layer. Okay, so... let me just figure out what layer is on. Alright, so... Becky... could be like that. Get that out. What layer is this? Is that the background? Okay, there we go. Becky's going in front. And I don't want to cut right to there. I want to show the outside. Give it a beat. Toss. Again, you can do the settle thing. Can stretch her now. You know, I would never do this in real animation, but like you could do stuff like that just to get the range of motion. You know, I'm going to want that to be a lot quicker. Three's there. That feels a little bit better. I also want you to see what's happening, so I don't want it to just be this pink blur. We'll keep it on threes. Alright, then we could cut quicker actually in this one. So we'll get down to under 12 seconds by the time we're done. Oh. Yep. All day. All day, every Friday. Alright, so we're at an hour and 15 minutes and we got a pretty reasonable animatic, I think, for, you know, I'm getting the point across, hopefully. And we're already at about 7 seconds. So you compile that with what we can get done in a day for getting kind of ideas down. And then compile that by a week. And all of a sudden, you know, you could get together a full pilot if you're just kind of doing it this way. In under a month by yourself. If you just kind of, you just have to kind of work in a way that makes sense to you. And like this simple style, these simple characters, these really kind of hard-shaped backgrounds, you know, all of a sudden you can tell a story really quickly in terms of animation production. So storyboards are super important, obviously. They're the framework of all animation. But you can do it in a way that's kind of quick for your production schedule. And when you have a smaller team like ours, it's just Bob and myself. So anytime I don't make something clear, I can be like, no, this is what I meant if Bob's animating that scene. All right. So let's do this. One of the more complicated backgrounds. Now, when we do this, we'll be able to grab textures and stuff from the original and try to get this as close to this painterly look as we can. Obviously, for the animatics, we don't need that. So I'm going to do the thing like I did earlier. We're just going to worry about the half, right? All line tool. It's going to kind of come up with a shape here. What's going on here? So I got like this building coming out here. I'm going to change that angle. Lower horizon, so we want to lower that. We got that here. Looks like we got some windows here. Windows there. And this is the line tool. It's also what the ink thing that they might have gotten away. They might have taken away from you. It has some stairs here. Don't want to go too crazy. Maybe raise that. The stairs, I just kind of go like that. Copy and paste down. Now, when I duplicate this, it's not going to be a perfect semicircle, but that's okay. I'll make the adjustments on the fly. Okay. Copy this. Modify, transform, flip horizontal. Try to go right down the middle here. And you know, all of a sudden we got sort of a background that perfectly adequate for what we're doing here, just making these animatics. Gonna grab a line here. It's where I like that line tool. I'm not a huge fan of drawing with it. Like in-betweening with the line tool is just such a pain. But for stuff where you need a quick idea and you don't want the line weight to fluctuate, this is as good as it gets. Okay, we'll show the inside a little bit here. Grab that. So you can manipulate the line like that too. Edit. This will be, you don't need to see inside there. And I also want enough room, so I'm going to shrink this a little bit, to have Becky land and close to the camera, and it makes sense. So I'm going to lower that. And let's see where she lands. Yeah, we're going to have to change the horizon a little bit. I'm just going to scrunch it down a little bit here, make it a little flatter. And flatten the stairs. When you want the horizon line to feel longer, you can do that. The closer you are to it. Extend all that. Good enough background for now. Extend where you need to. I'm hitting shift too. That causes a straight line. I'm not drawing perfectly straight lines here by any metric. Alright, get that. We'll make this dark gray. Put it on the background layer. Color where we need to. Kind of get the framework down here. We can extend this too if you need to. And the beautiful part about line tool is I can grab this and make it as big as I want and the line will stay the same. You can't say the same about the brush. Alright, so I'm going to grab the same color here for the pavement. We'll make this a little darker. This even darker. Keep grabbing the wrong color. Way too dark. Grab that. There we go. I'd get there, I know it. Alright, this is good enough to show that it indicates night. Indicates night, the windows are lighter, so we'll keep that different color. And I try to keep these as grayscale and as basic as I can. We're just trying to tell a story here, not like the finished product. Alright, let's just do a different shade for the underside of that. Alright, So that'll be them all. We can do the dark color there. And the framework there. Center that as best as I can. So I'm going to do Becky first because I want to make sure she's the important part here. The guy's going to be pretty much just the minuscule little dot by the time we're done. And by doing that, I'm going to start with the last drawing in this case, so I know it's framed right. Alright, so she kind of pops up all zonked out. So we're going to rough that out. Where is she here? There we go. You could go as goofy as you want on these ones. Like her head could be a very giant size. Not even thinking this is not goofy enough, so I'm gonna rough that out again. Yeah, she has to like... Her eyes have to be doing that kind of rolling around thing. You know, one will go counterclockwise, one will go the other way. A little roughed up. That typical Looney Tunes thing where you hear the Tweety Bird. Got that centered. Alright. So, let's clean that up. And in this case where I want the eyes to do something funny, I will make this one a symbol because it'll repeat itself. Got all roughed up and scratches here. The nice part about doing these is you could get this kind of really nice line because you're using such a thick brush. Get a lot of line quality out of it. Here can be a mess. And it's not about being perfect boards by any measure. Do a funny mouth like that if I wanted. When she gets beat up, I always kind of mess with her hair buns too. Like they're kind of like got twisted up and stuff, so I'll add like hair coming off. Alright, so let's color that. Alright. I just copy these sometimes and paste them so I have a color palette nearby. I'm going to paint behind you because I left a little hole in here. And this will be a fun scene when we finally get to it to animate. Anytime there's a character that's beat up or something, or just doing something goofy, I find that's where I love doing the animation the most because I said earlier about the character models never really being accurate, and I like to keep it that way. I like keeping it loose. Alright, so I'm going to make this a symbol. I'll call this scene 4 Becky. I'll go go inside that. And then I could do something kooky with the eyes. This is not going to be animation, but it'll be close enough. I'm going to start with one pupil going that way, while the other one goes this way. Up and around. And we want to end up as a cycle. Get a little, make it exactly a second, and then just time these out accordingly. Go to control loop playback. Yep, and then I won't do the stars, but you could do. I'm gonna use yellow. Something like that, just to show that we'll do stars or, you know, blood drops or whatever we think is funny at the time. I'm gonna shrink those a bit. Also gonna erase some of those so it doesn't stay in the way of the line. Like that. I'm gonna lose this one just so it's not in the pupil's way. I'll move that one there. Alright. Good enough. Alright, so she's going to pop up again for comic timing. So, boop. It'll pop up. I'm just going to add a little settle. Sort of shows what she's doing here. Alright, so now I'm going to work backwards from there. So I know she lands there and pops up, so now I'm going to work with the last keyframe. Second to last keyframe, I should say. Make sure the framing's all right. Yeah, she could be centered more. The bridge of her nose should be the center. Alright. It looks like we'll be able to finish this animatic in the 2-hour stream, which will come to much relief of the guys waiting for my sprite work. And you guys will get to see it before it hits the game. Though I'll probably post it on Twitter too, so. We're doing our best not to show any of the poignant moments in the game. Which there's plenty of. We don't want to give away any of the narrative stuff. Because it's a very story-driven game with a robust kind of cast of characters. And, you know, I think you'll actually really enjoy that stuff when you're getting to play the game. You know, of course I'm biased as well as the team, but it really is starting to feel like you're watching an episode of something you might have saw on a Saturday morning cartoon or after school of a certain, in the early 2000s. Which, you know, that was a pleasant, that, you know, you work so hard on something for 2.5 to 5 years or whatever we worked on. So seeing it come together like that is really enjoyable. Okay, I got the legs, though. Is that the right color of the outline? And I don't think it is. No, it isn't. That dark gray and the black are pretty close. That's why. Okay. So she has a cape on this one. I'm gonna do the cape separate because that's secondary. This one I'll do a thinner line weight to kind of match. Not that thin though. We'll do it like she's really falling. Her cape is the same color as her the buns in her hair. And then the cape can kind of flop forward. Best way to rough out timing is just playing with it like that too. I want her to land pretty impactful, so I'm gonna settle the legs too. Change the anchor point, squash it down. We can do a double bounce. Sometimes that feels right, sometimes it doesn't. Alright, let's see what that looks like. I'm just going to get rid of this frame for now, because I don't know if this timing feels great. And we might have to speed that up too. Take a few of these frames out. I'll change that timing actually. Keep the bounce up back. Cool design, I like this. Thank you very much. Yeah, we try to keep the design super simple. I mean, it's I said it last week, but I think we're kind of on the cusp of almost 130,000 drawings now for this game. Just includes the backgrounds, includes all the sprite work. It's not just all character art. There's thousands of background drawings too. So to mitigate that, because you know we're a team of two when it comes to art, how do you get 130,000 drawings done in X amount of time? You have to keep the design sort of simple, and that's what we, you know, for a lot of reasons. I like the way kind of that UPA-ish, real simple, just very heavy line work looks in general, but it's easy to animate for us. You can get your ideas down really quick, and you're not spending a whole lot of time like on complicated character design or color theory or that. So it's super helpful to kind of keep everything as simple as you can. And I think just in general with these projects, the simpler the better, because you can make anything as complex as you want after the design. And you know, we're kind of guilty of that too. We started off with a smaller, shorter game. Now the game's pretty robust. So we're making our production a little harder, but by adding a lot of drawings, which is something we're comfortable with. Alright, so we're gonna keep that. I'm gonna just draw this one. All the assets are done in Flash. All the art assets are done, all the sprite work's done in Flash MX, including the backgrounds, which the one over here, even that's done in Flash. And I made this a JPEG to bring in here as a reference because it's a smaller file size. But if I went into the original file, you could zoom in and all the line work is like vectorized and perfect. Now, when we do cutaways, we take it from Flash, export it as something else, and then make a movie of it, which will usually bring in After Effects or some sort of post program, just to give it that feel. Bob, actually, could you throw in the chats the intro that we did for this game? We have it on our YouTube too, but you'll see what I mean. That what you'll see in this, including all the music and stuff, that was done way outside of the realms of Flash in terms of like post-production work. And that's what the cutaways will look like, you know, and that, I feel like that is where we wanted to kind of stand out in terms of cutaways, because it should feel different than gameplay itself. You know, we're taking the time to make it look a little more typical of like postmodern animation. All right. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to rough that out. And you'll see here the intro we did, which is the intro to the game, too. We did that a while ago. It'll be like that. That's better timing, I think. So I'm going to go back, make sure it looks right. We might actually do something here. What are the advantages you found in working and I'm sorry, I can't see this whole thing.
Oh, in Flash.
In Flash? Well, it's the only program I know how to do as an independent animator, like an independent animation studio, I should say. I think it's good for small studios, and we're as small as it gets in terms of the art team. It's just the two of us, and before we became Exit 73 Games, which is 5 of us, the 5 people I mentioned in the beginning, we were Exit 73 Studios, which was just an animation company, and it was just Bob and myself. When you're doing that, you have to find ways to keep competitive with the huge companies that are, you know, teams of, they're, you know, animation companies range from the 30 people to 75 people all the way to the thousands. How do you keep competitive when you're a small team like us? Well, you had to kind of come up with the ideas to do stuff quicker and faster. And, well, quicker is faster. I mean, and just more efficient. And that's where Flash came in for us. You could do everything in this, including edit audio. And you can export from this, and everything's really compact in terms of memory size. So I can send this Flash file to Bob in an email. This is probably the 4.5 megs right now. Whereas other ones, like After Effects files and stuff, they get huge. And I did...
We were going to do backgrounds in Photoshop.
We were going to do some Photoshop backgrounds because the painterly, it's just easier to get a paint stroke in Photoshop. They have specific brushes for that. But Bob chose to do it in Flash. I just think ultimately it saved us time, because you could kind of manipulate the brush strokes now in Flash to kind of get the effect you were hoping to get. And then I can grab any of these backgrounds that he made and put it, and we can, you know, interact with the backgrounds with the characters and stuff. And a lot of the game, Becky runs up and you can hit like some of the background elements. And how do we animate that if in Photoshop if we had characters isolated? So it was just advantageous for us to kind of keep everything in one program. And it's a program Bob and I are super familiar with. We've been a studio for, you know, going on 12 years now. And every project, with the exception of very little, we've used Flash MX or its grandchild, Adobe Animate. Flash MX when we can, though. Alright, let's grab her skin tone. And this is where I would always keep her in her cape here, so we don't have to worry about like arms and limbs and everything. We're just kind of focusing on her kind of big head here. Alright. So I'm going to group this. I'm just going to do kind of a cheat here, just kind of in between it this way. Make her 125. Have her go up like that. And you see you can sort of get the arc here. Now, I don't love that the cape is going. So what I would do here, I'm just going to manipulate this. Control G. Move that back. And now you can see the cowls starting to go behind your head. Alright, so that gets that timing done. Now all we have to do is sort of add the indication of this mall guard, and the mall's so big that he's just going to be tiny here. So I'm just going to kind of almost do just a silhouette. And we'll know what that means. See if that looks about the right size, and then we can clean that up a little bit. And you know, I think that's for an animatic, that's all we really need for him. Now what I'll do is this. Okay. Argument's sake, I like this idea. I like this timing. I'm gonna grab all this now because I want to add a camera shake. Control-Alt-C, that copies the frames. This is scene 4, so I'm gonna call it scene 04. All. Paste it in place, and that keeps the frames, the timing, and the layers. And just paste it right over where I see. Try to line it up as best I can. And if you're a real stickler and you want a perfect, like you want this as perfect as registered as you can, and I remember I did the background and line tool. You're just gonna onion skin all that, and then you can line it up at 2000%. And make sure the lines attach to each other, and that should be registered perfect now. Get rid of the extraneous frames. It's amazing you haven't heard Flash MX since 2000 and actually find that it's a good workflow for production. Yeah, I love the production workflow with MX because it's just this really simple, you know, we're treating it like a camera. So when, and you know, like if we were, say the size of Pixar, well, now they're kind of short-handed, but say Pixar 20 days ago, and you had this giant production team, hundreds of workers and producers and all that, you would pick a different program. I mean, it's not an apple-to-apple thing since they're 3D. But they can afford to have these complicated kind of systems because they're just more specialized. So there'll be someone just doing lighting. There'll be someone just doing character design, and there's probably chefs at, at Pixar that, just have to worry about catering and stuff. So I'm just going to add a little camera shake here. I'm going to do it at the frame of impact. So when you're doing a camera shake, I like doing it in directionally. So she's landing, right? And say we have a camera here. So she would land, which means it will go down the whole frame. Now to get it to feel more impactful, you're going to take the next frame and go, now it's going to go up. That'll give that kind of nice bounce. And then each keyframe here, I'm just going to do a little less, but in the opposing direction. So now it'll be down again. Up and down, and then you'll get this nice little jump here. Okay. That I might want, because now that I'm looking at it, I might extend this shot just to kind of stay on her face a little longer. So I'm just going to go to 96 frames. That's 4 seconds. Then I can extend outside of it as long as I want. It won't be the full 96, but I can adjust. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All right, let's see if I can finish the rest in 15 minutes, and I should be able to. So this will be easy because just one pose. I got this guy. Let me grab this because I like this drawing I did of him. Kind of like his square shoulders in this case. I'll use this as a reference. To get the kind of head shape. So we'll rough this out. Let me start with the background first. You wouldn't even see the top of the door jamb here. So I'm just going to pick one angle to frame them out. Pick whatever color that was in this one. Just like right. Okay, I'm gonna group that. Actually, I'm gonna continue the line and do that first. Group that. Okay. Copy and paste. Transform, flip horizontal. Can do the same on that. I love the symmetry of these simple kind of one-on shots. We're so used to the top-down part that when you can get a chance to get these close-up situations in these cutaways, I always take them. Okay, that's about as centered as I'm going to make it. Alright, so now we just have to frame him out. Might go a little longer than the 2 hours just so I can show you the final product at the end, but I don't think anyone will mind. So start with the head. Now remember, he was looking down at Becky here, so we're gonna wanna kind of change the eye line here. It's almost looking at you now, the player. Rough this out. Now, I like symmetry with the background, but I don't like symmetry with the character, though. So I'll always kind of twist the head one way or make one head, the side of the head a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. Gives the character a little more, like, imperfection, and it looks a little more fun, especially when they're these kind of cartoonier characters. Gonna give him some high waist for argument's sake. Gonna okay, see if I like the size of that. See what it looks like. Probably make him a little smaller. The mall's big, so. Alright, so we'll clean that up. Then we'll have the door shut on him. And that'll conclude the whole animatic. I think we did that in 2 hours. I didn't think we'd be able to. Whenever I say stuff like that, I hit Control S. And I do that all the time, and it's like, do you want to call this untitled? Like, I don't save the whole time. I've done that so many times in my career. We've been under such pressure to finish it that when I lost work about 2 weeks ago, and you're like, I'm surprised you're not even angry. And I was just so deflated, I just kind of I was like, I'm just going to go home. I was like, oh, I had that whole talkie done. You're like, you lost it? I was like, yeah. And this we can give a little shadow, a little more dramatic. Have you felt the growing of the project against the initial? Yeah, I mean, these projects, at least with these smaller teams that I find, everything's super organic. So we start with an idea, and we know the story. The story doesn't evolve all that much, though we keep adding to it. But like in terms of like what's in the game and gameplay and stuff, we change that. Not change it, but we'll come up with an idea and like how can we execute that? How can we reuse some of the other elements that we've been bringing to it? And then you'll do something like we'll add an extra move for Becky or this extra feature and be like, oh, how would we use that in this dungeon? And then all that kind of compiles and you get like this whole different landscape of a game that 6 months ago was here, now it's over here, and at the end it'll be a kind of not a different game, but a different evolution of how we thought the game was going to be. So it's but the same way we're kind of like to kind of bring it home to this animatic, it's like this animatic changed in timing in a lot of different ways and just sort of on the fly, which that's sort of how we work, is not on the fly. I don't want it to sound like we don't have a plan, but we're very open to the idea that things can change, and it's not always for the better, but sometimes those changes make the game a different, more playable experience. I'm gonna copy and paste that on the side. Yeah, but I would argue that anyone in indie gaming, probably AAA gaming too, like there must be stuff that they just, the beginning of the production and the end of production are two different animals. All right. So we're gonna do some dramatic lighting for him here. So I'm gonna take his skin tone and I'm gonna just desaturate it, not desaturate it, I'm sorry, darken it up here. I'm gonna paint behind. Gonna give him a little bit of a more sinister vibe. And don't you dare come back here. Do I want to do that for this one? Alright, let's color that. Alright. It happens with our shorts too. Like, remember when we made Flex, what it started as and what it ended as for two different beasts. This one I'm doing the yellow eyes. That's his design. I'm sticking to it. Oh, I did that. We could also do this thing where I would play with the lighting. Alright, so I'm going to make him a symbol. Scene 5, Mall Cop, MC. Want to get really kind of more dynamic lighting. Paste that. I'll use a gradient. Remember I was bashing gradients earlier? Not no more. Alright. Go down to 15%. We're going to change the 100 to be about 60, something like that. Grab that, right? Put it over here. Do it up to here. Do that down to 0. I'm just, oh, goodness. Sorry, I'm just adjusting a little bit here. Alright, then I'm going to take the top layer, layer 2 here. I'm going to break this, change it to one color. Then I'm going to right click and hit mask. So now I got even kind of a more of a dynamic lighting here. Give them this really sinister vibe. We'll put this background here. I'm going to pick a darker gray. That might be too dark. Let me just add kind of a horizontal line to make it even more dynamic. Alright. So that'll be sort of like that. Really feels like an ending shot now. Now what I'll do for the doors closing, I got these elements in the foreground, right? I'm going to copy and paste those. Now I'm going to pick the middle, this little X right here. And just do one door. And duplicate it and swap it over. I don't know what the mall... I know it's a glass door, so I'm gonna kind of keep it like that. It'll be lighter for the front, even lighter for like the shine, and I'll pick just slightly lighter than the. All right. Just add a line there. Call this door half, or scene 05 door half. Okay, so I'm going to work backwards again. I know it once it should close here. Now I'm going to just pan it over. You could pan it like, you see, I'll follow the contour of the background here, so kind of twist it. Not exactly how a door should work, but in this case. Like that. And depending on what it should probably be an ease in, ease out. Is there a question? No, okay. No. Yeah, we'll do it ease in, ease out. To make that longer. Control Alt C, Control Alt V. Line that up to the middle. Work backwards here again. Kind of line that up. Try to get it on the line perfectly. Now you see how the shine is going the wrong way in this case, because reflection should always be adjacent to each other. So I'm going to duplicate this. Transform, flip that. Recolor where I need to. And just swap the symbols because... And MX you can only swap per keyframe, so, you know, it's... You take it or leave it, kinda. Leave that half over here. So there we go. And we can slow that down to even be more dramatic, I feel like. Yeah, let's slow it down a lot. Not a lot, but... Yeah, something like that at the end. And because I don't like anything that looks too sort of flashy, like those pans, I'll shoot the end on 2s. Just a preference, really. Maybe even 3s to really kind of bring it home. And then because I made this guy a symbol, right? You can darken him at the same frame rate. So the light's kind of working against him too. So I'll go like -53 and just motion between that. And then you'll see he gets darker as it closes. Keep it the same frame rate. Oh gosh, right at 4 o'clock. Perfect. Alright. So let's watch the fruits of our labor. Okay, so remember, I'm gonna just go back to this. This is what you see on the screen. You get caught. This guy busts you. That happens for a while. Gonna fade to black, cut to black, fade up, and this is what we'll watch. If I'm happy with all that, and there's some timing things that I'm gonna do after the stream, not, just shave some timing here and there. I will save this and send this over to the guys, the programmers, and Bob, and all that stuff. So, that's how you do an animatic in 2 hours. 15 seconds. If we did this 8 hours a day, you could get about a minute of this kind of stuff done, which, and if you have a pilot idea and you're kind of on your own and you can figure out a way to do these sort of animatics this simple, a 10-minute animatic, 12-minute or 22 minutes, you do the math. You could get this done in a month, full time, and if you're doing it on the side, set aside 3 months, and all of a sudden you have your thing. You can pitch it to people, and I really feel like this is the best way to tell a story visually rather than a one sheet. So any of you people are out there who want to pitch these ideas and you just don't have the resources, you don't need much. I'm telling you, you can just do this as simple as you can, and if the story's legible, it's legible. So that's my recommendation.
Play it again.
Yeah, let me play it again. Okay, let me I'll do it. People just joined?
Yeah, rate.
Oh, someone rated us. Is that what? Is that a Twitch thing? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm an old man. What do you want? Thanks for everyone for joining us. We're about to close shop, though. This will also be on our Twitch channel and our YouTube feed. So I'm just gonna kind of go through that again. Our game, the game portion of it, you get caught by this mall cop. He finds you. Your character is kind of stunned. You can't move with the controller anymore. And then it's going to cut to a cutaway of, this isn't full animation. This is what I call an animatic. And this will be in the gameplay itself. So you have to watch this scenario happen. And here we go. Oh, from France. That's awesome. Thanks so much. And we got that. Close. Restart. You're outside the mall. Get back in. Don't get caught this time. All right. So that concludes this stream. I'm going to hit this end slate here. A few things we should...
Go over
our promotional stuff, right? Biggest thing you could do for us guys is go to the Steam wish list. Put us on there, because that really helps everyone. It helps our team's morale. It helps our publishers. You're also going to want to check out the Humble Bundle game. What was that thing called that they showed? With
the showcase.
The showcase. We'll put that in all our links as well, because there's other hand-drawn games that are absolutely gorgeous on that. You should check that out. Twitter, Exit73. Instagram, Exit73. Facebook. Some of us still use it. Exit73. And TikTok, which I assume is Exit73, though you're going to have to hit up Greg with that.
Games is that one.
Exit73 Games for TikTok. See, we're catching up. I'm going to hit the end slate now, but it was great seeing all you guys. Thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for the raid. And we will join all you guys next week, hopefully, for another round of Drawing Blood. Thanks, guys.